All right. Um, just recapping the win over Florida State. You know, what a great comeback by our guys. So proud of our staff and the team showing a great response and really putting our grit on display. You know, bouncing back from a tough loss at Clemson is one thing, but to be down 14 against a team like that, very talented team, well-coached team, that's another thing. I mean, I think it shows a lot of heart, what we did in that game, especially when you're missing your quarterback during part of that comeback. I was very thankful to our fans and students and recruits that stayed the entire game. For those of you that left at halftime, you missed a beautiful, never quit, gritty comeback performance. Our program's now beaten Florida State 3 in a row, first time in school history, and 5 out of the last 6. And I think that says a lot about what we've done here in my time. It's a team that was down 14 and lost their quarterback after the opening possession of the third quarter, and I thought Jack did an amazing job just being poised more than anything, you know, coming in the game, just doing what he could do, and leading us to 3 straight scoring drives, all with Chris Dunn's leg. The defense was spectacular in the second half, and they had 4 straight 3-and-outs and 2 takeaways. There were 7 or 6 possessions in that half, and gave up nothing until that final drive, which ended with the interception. As I mentioned before, I think Chris Dunn, you know, maybe had his best game of his career and was spectacular, and every point mattered in a game like that. You know, on offense, really challenged both sides of the ball in the line of scrimmage coming out of that Clemson game. And we responded. We had 34 pancakes on offense, and that's O-line, tight ends, running backs, receivers. But that was a season high. We had 24 in the Texas Tech game. We only had 9 at Clemson. And so I think, you know, challenging our guys to finish blocks, they really bought into that. You know, I thought we ran the ball with physicality. I thought, you know, Jordan Houston played his best game. You know, Demi did some great things before leaving the game, and Delbert Mims came in and really ran the ball hard between the tackles for us. We were 100% scoring in the red zone, like to get more touchdowns, but we did capitalize on points, and the time of possession in the second half was huge. I mean, we had the ball for 20 of the 30 minutes in the second half. You know, it was a really big deal to come out in the third quarter, and I thought Devin did a great job leading us to a touchdown there, getting the touchdown pass to Darryl Jones, his first in NC State uniform. But that was a critical drive, you know, coming out of what we talked about at halftime. I told them we were going to score in the opening drive, we were going to have a great comeback win, and that we needed a shutout in the second half. And it just brought the vision to life. It validated the discussion. And so that was a huge, huge turning point, more than people probably understand. In that comeback. You know, negatives on offense, we had the 1 turnover on a 4th down play. You know, we didn't convert on that 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and that's on us as a staff to help our players more there. You know, we called 2 straight passes, and, you know, not that they weren't good calls. The one on 3rd down was wide open, and their DN batted it down. That would have been a huge play. But we can do better there. You know, I thought our 3rd down offense could be better. You know, too many 3rd and longs is part of that. You know, losing your quarterback is never good. Good news is his shoulder is good. All the images were positive. It's a rehabable injury, and that starts immediately. It's a day-to-day thing. He was fortunate. You know, a lot of times when you see a quarterback get hit while they're throwing, it can be damaging, and this was not that. So Devin's super tough, and he'll grind. There isn't a timeline. Could be this week, could be 6 weeks. It's really going to come down to how he recovers. And so we're excited that the news was what it was, you know, and I'm not going to get into any more of it than that. So all your questions will be ignored when it comes to Devin. But we're excited, you know, that his season isn't over and he doesn't need surgery. Defensive positives, you know, we tackled well. We only missed 5 tackles. You know, we won the line of scrimmage. There was a lot. If you just, you know, hit play and then pause, you'll see us in the backfield a lot and disrupted a really good run game. They were averaging 200 yards going into our game on the ground, and I thought the guys really screwed up the timing of a lot of their plays with disruption. There's a lot of guys in there on the D-line just really grinded, man. You watch Corey Durden played his heart out. I thought, Savion Jackson and C.J. Clark and Davin Van, Josh Harris, Trevally Price, those 6 guys just battled. And the linebackers played downhill. Thought Isaiah Moore and Drake and Peyton were all productive. But the second half shutout was impressive, and the 2 interceptions were critical. Negatives, we gave up, 5 explosive plays in that second quarter, and that's really what changed the game there from a defensive standpoint. They did make a couple nice throws, and, they have the one giant receiver that jumped over us a couple times, and that's what he's done to everybody. When you have a 6'7" guy, that's going to happen. But we just lost our gaps a couple times on the line of scrimmage, and I think the guys understood it, and they fixed it in the second half. Special teams, it was a back-and-forth night. I think both teams really did some good things. Obviously, their punt return special play they had where their team, faked like the other guy was getting it, and that was well done by them. We had a really good night on our punt return, pressuring their punter. He had a 28-yard average, which sets up our offense pretty well. But it was a good night. It was a good night. I thought our kicker was the difference for us. Getting ready for Syracuse, undefeated, ranked in the top 20, very balanced on offense. Robert and I, the offensive coordinator they hired, is a really good football coach, and he's made a difference in their offense. Quarterback who last year I thought struggled throwing the football, is 70% completion rate. He's playing really well. He was a dynamic runner last year and still is. And he's a North Carolina native. I know this will be a big game for him. Tailback Tucker leads the conference still in rushing, and the receiver Gadsden, 6'5" receivers, making a lot of plays. They move him around. Defensively, they're similar to us, 3-3-5, different in their approach. They're smaller body types. They're very quick. They angle and loop and stunt a lot with their front. Their backers have been there a long time, and they're really good players at linebacker. They make a lot of plays. Their corners are productive. They do a nice job disguising zone coverages and man coverages. They lead the ACC in almost every category on defense, and so it's going to be a great challenge for us offensively. And I know it'll be loud in the Carrier Dome. It always is. Dino's done a great job with his team, and with the staff changes he's made, you can see it's made a difference. So we look forward to another great week, another great game, and competitive game against a really good team that's well coached. Questions?
David, you want to start us off?
Sure, Annabelle, thank you. Hey, Coach, I know you won't provide any more information on Devin. Demi went out as well as Devin Carter on offense. Do you have any updates on their availability for this week?
It looks good. Both of them are okay. It's just that time of year. Sometimes guys get sore, and they'll work hard to be back. We expect to have them both.
John.
Hey, Coach. John Eads with WAR Radio up in Syracuse. I'm working on a story about the number 1 jersey. So can you kind of just explain to me how that all came about, what that's all about, and then why Isaiah Moore exemplifies the traits to earn that number?
When I got to NC State, I was just looking for some things programmatically that we could make special here. Having 2 years at Southern Cal, there was some really cool traditions they had about jersey numbers and guys that got to wear them. And so, I was just thought it was an opportunity here to do something. I was trying to build a culture and a program at that time. And so it was a way to put a jersey on a guy that exemplified everything we were looking for, and not just a player, but a teammate, that did everything right on and off the field. He was a leader. He was consistent. And Isaiah earned that, now his 3rd year in that jersey. But through everything that he's done, and everything that he's overcome, and he's a dominant player and a dominant leader and an impressive human being. And so he exemplifies that. He's definitely got a legacy with it. And, You know, and that's what I ask for all our players to do. You know, whoever has to wear that next has a lot to live up to.
James.
Dave, I know against Florida State you didn't need Jack to pass the ball a lot, and if he has to play this week against Syracuse, have you seen that element from him in fall camp and obviously when you were watching him at Charleston Southern?
Yeah, and I mean, Jack's had 400-yard passing games before, you know, if you go back to his career. So he can throw the football. Our run game was playing really good, you know, in that game, and we were 200 yards rushing, and, you know, the way we were looking at their front and how tired they looked, I mean, it felt like we were doing the right things and matchup-wise. So, but yeah, if we're going to have to get into a game and chuck it around, we feel great about him. And MJ's going to have to be ready to go. Ben Finley's going to have to be ready to go, you know, and everybody's on deck as we get Devin ready to play.
Alec.
Yeah, Dave, you mentioned Chris Dunn, and I think, you know, we saw the other side of that with Florida State where they throw a pick when they were in field goal range. Just for you guys to have that consistency and that faith in him, just how much has that meant to the program and the success you guys have had over the last couple of seasons? He's
Mr. Reliable. I mean, I think people take things for granted that they have, you know, and I don't take Chris for granted. Like it's a luxury to have somebody like that. You know, we've all seen what happens when you don't. You know, there's games you don't win, one-possession games you don't win, and it makes you a complete team, you know, when you have the ability to make field goals, you know, when you don't get touchdowns and not have to go for it all the time on fourth down because you don't like your odds. And, yeah, it's awesome. And his leadership in that room, the way that, you know, him and the specialists gel and the way our players pull for him, I don't know if you saw that, but, I mean, the number of guys that ran out on the field to congratulate him after making some of those kicks in the game, offense, defense, you name it. You don't see that everywhere. I mean, you see the guy makes a field goal somewhere and him and the holder have some goofy handshake, right? And then a couple guys pat him on the helmet and he jogs back to the net. Nobody talks to him. Like, that's not how it is here. You know, Chris is somebody that these players love and we all pull for.
Aaron.
Yeah, Dave, I know that the offensive plan might have gotten adjusted a little bit with Devin's injury,
right,
you know, the other night, but you ran the ball really well and effectively, and part of that was by necessity, I guess. But beyond that part of having to go to it, what did you like about the way you guys ran the ball, considering it was the best performance, considering the stakes and the level of opponent that you've had on all year on the ground?
Well, you know, I've said this from the beginning. Like, when you play teams that are going to play, basically they played man-to-man on our four receivers with two safeties back. They dared us to run the football, you know. And if we couldn't run the ball in that look, we were going to get completely destroyed. I mean, it's very difficult to throw the ball the way they were defending us. And so that was something we had to do to win. And we challenged the O-line, the tight ends, the backs, the wideouts. Like, this may be one of those just dirty games where that's how we get it. We have to be patient. And the way we're going to get explosive runs is by the second level, you know, acting like O-linemen, going in there and, you know, run guys off, cracking safeties, finding extra work. And, you know, Thayer Thomas didn't have a catch, but he blocked his butt off the entire night, man. I mean, what a great teammate, you know, unselfish guy, you know. And Daryl Jones, Devin Carter, before he was out, was going in and cracking safeties and backers. And that's the kind of night it was. And so our guys bought into what it was going to take to win. I thought our backs really ran hard, like I said, and took advantage of the moment. And it does build confidence moving forward, you know, that you can run the ball like that.
James.
Yeah, Dave, I know last week you gave an update on Trent Penix. Do you have one similar for Tyler Baker-Williams? And also, we haven't seen Josh Pierce-Lewis. Is that an injury deal as well?
You know, I hope we have Tyler this week. That was the plan. We'll find out. We haven't practiced yet, but that was the plan, to have him. So we're looking forward to that. Trent Penix is close, and he's, you know, either this game or next, but he's very close to being back. And so that's where we're at with Josh Pierre-Lewis. Josh was suspended indefinitely from the team. That happened 3 weeks ago maybe, before Texas Tech, and, you know, that's an indefinite suspension.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Corey?
Dave, looking back at the last two games, obviously one of the areas where the defense has struggled has been, in containing quarterbacks with DJU and Jordan Travis having some big run plays during those games. How important is that going to be this week against Garrett Schrader, another guy that is a dual threat quarterback?
Yeah, Garrett's playing really well for them and extends plays. And, as you saw the other night, their quarterback got out on us a few times, and that's a huge deal. I mean, you always have somebody accountable for him, but it's not just being accountable. You got to make the play, and a couple times we didn't. And so, now we have an option to do that as well if we're playing without Devin. But, it's 11-man football in the run game, and sometimes the runs, as you know, are just created in a pass where a guy drops back and takes off. So, yeah, we have to do a great job, with their quarterback of not allowing him to get out. And, if we end up in that situation, making sure we have opportunities to run ours.
Ryan?
Yeah, Dave, don't want to ask about the specifics with Devin. Obviously, you addressed that. But is he a guy who has to practice, or given the experience that he has, is he a guy who can just play? I don't know how you judge that in your program.
Well, it's not always an option, I mean, I think every player is better when they practice. I mean, even in the NFL, they're better when they practice, So, yeah, we'd love that. But at the same time, we're going to get our best guys out there. If he's ready to play, we trust him.
And that's a decision you'll make. Sorry. That's a decision you'll make, the trainers will make, Devin will make. Who makes that decision?
Well, it always starts with the doctors. Yeah.
Thank you.
Tim Peeler?
Hey, Coach, hope all is well. Just wonder if you could go back to your first trip up to Syracuse, what the importance of that game was, the importance of Aaron McKeever's play that he made that helped turn that around, and
Yeah.
The difference of where you are now.
Well, that was my first ACC win. That was a heck of a play by Farrow, and I think it was Halloween, if I remember right. That was the night my son was dressed up like a piece of bacon, and Connor, that was pretty awesome. He came into my press conference dressed up in a bacon suit. I still remember that. It was pretty sweet. But, yeah, it's always big to get your first conference win and to do it on the road and do it with a defensive score. Momentum builder for sure. And I think that was just, the first of many steps that we've taken. You get one ACC win, now the guys believe they can get more. Just like the first time we beat Florida State, I mean, we could not beat them. And now our guys expect to beat them, and I think it's kind of just the evolution of our program, and playing well on the road, all the things that go into it. So it's a great place to play. I've always enjoyed playing up there. The noise is an issue, can be an issue. It's also a great environment. So I know our team's excited about it.
Thanks, Coach.
David? Are you muted, David?
Oh my God, it's like first day after, apologies. Regardless of Devin's timetable for return, how does his history of recovery and coming back from injury and his knowledge of rehab really kind of help him during this time?
Yeah, it does. I mean, he's in a good spot mentally. He was thankful to hear that it wasn't bad, and not that anything's good, but, it could have been a lot worse. You guys saw the hit. And so I think he knows what he's got to get done. He'll be down there. He trusts the trainers that we have, and, he'll be after it. And I think, what you said probably is pretty real. And when you're never been injured in your life, first time going through something that's different, he's got a lot different injury when he hurt his leg, but he's got the recall and, just the steps and what he needs to do, and not just the physical part. I think for injured players, the mental part's big, just not getting disconnected from your teammates, So I know that won't be a part of what he does, and I mean, he's going to try like heck to get ready, So I think that's the biggest thing. Is the last one was you're done for the year. This one isn't that, So he's got a lot to be motivated about in this recovery process.
James?
Dave, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the Shaheen Battle targeting call. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it back. was it, what, just your thoughts on it and how that might impact you guys this weekend?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We did turn it in. We used the appeal process, and they confirmed. I've still not seen an angle that tells me it was, but it's not because it wasn't. I just haven't been privy to that film, I guess. It's hard when you're hitting a player that is changing elevation on a play, and that's, you know, as you leave your feet to go tackle somebody when they're at 5 feet and then they slide or they, you know, start falling and then you hit them in a different place. That's a challenging thing for any tackler. And so Shy's penalty, it was targeting, I guess, by the letter of the law. I do wish that there was a different way they could view some of these. There was no intent. And I think that's what the rule was put in place for, you know, from a helmet-to-helmet standpoint, or a guy launching himself and trying to injure somebody. There's, you know, that was a very challenging play to make. I mean, Shy's head was up, his eyes were up, all of those things. So that was a tough one. Always hurts when you lose a good player for half the game, you know. And so last week we lost Pitts for half the game. Now we'll have Pitts this week and Shy's out. You know, it's like their role reversal here. But we'll be okay depth-wise, and, you know, Shy will work hard to be ready in the second half, and it is what it is.